What is the debt ceiling? The debt ceiling is a cap that the US government has placed on how much money it can legitimately borrow. In order to continue borrowing money to fund its operations, such as paying for government programs and repaying previous debt, the government must regularly raise the debt ceiling. When the government exceeds its debt limit, it can either raise it or take additional measures, such setting up priority payments, to prevent going into default. The debt ceiling is frequently a contentious topic in political discussions because some claim that raising it permits the government to continue engaging in reckless spending, while others assert that failing to do so could result in a default on the country's debt, which would trigger a serious economic crisis. What causes our national debt? The current U.S. national debt is the result of a number of factors, including spending by the government. A budget deficit results when the government spends more than it receives in tax income. The national debt grows over time as a result of the accrued deficits. Wars and military expenditures. These factors have significantly added to the nation's debt. For instance, the cost of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan has increased the debt by trillions of dollars. Programs that provide individuals with benefits in retirement, including Social Security and Medicare, have seen large cost increases over time and are expected to continue doing so. Tax cuts, tax reductions, especially those that are not accompanied by spending reductions, may also add to the national debt. Interest on the debt. The continual expense of interest on the debt increases the amount of the national debt. A difficult-to-break cycle is created as a result of the growth of the interest payments in tandem with the debt. Economic downturns. The national debt can also be impacted by economic downturns. Tax revenues fall when the economy is poor, but government spending on initiatives like stimulus and unemployment benefits rises. Lack of fiscal restraint. The government's inability to make difficult decisions regarding expenditure and revenue is another factor contributing to the rising national debt. It's important to note that there are several reasons that have contributed to the current level of the U.S. national debt, rather than a single source. What are the options to figure this out? The U.S. government would be unable to borrow more money to fund its operations if the debt ceiling is not raised unless spending is reduced. Depending on how the government decides to order its payments, this could result in a variety of alternative outcomes. One option is that the government would have to declare bankruptcy, which would prevent it from being able to pay its debts. Both for the U.S. economy and the world economy, this would probably have very negative economic effects. Another alternative is that, in order to keep from going into default on its debt, the government might prioritize its payments. This could imply that it would have to make challenging decisions regarding which programs and services to eliminate or scale back in order to free up money to pay off debt. For many Americans, this might cause serious disruption and hardship. A third option is for the government to continue paying all of its obligations as usual while reducing other expenditures to free up money. This can require it to cut back on or stop support for some initiatives, like infrastructure improvements, educational initiatives, and scientific research. It's important to remember that the debt ceiling is not the same as the actual debt, rather, it is the maximum amount of debt that the government is legally permitted to issue. Even if the debt ceiling isn't raised, the government can still borrow, but that would be against the law and cause major political issues. In any case, the government would face a challenging situation if the debt ceiling wasn't raised or spending wasn't reduced, and the economy and the American people would likely suffer significantly as a result. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell for future content.